Hello friends, in this video I would like to discuss about the resource utilization and another important feature of VMware Workstation, which is thin provisioning. So let us move ahead and understand how these things play an important role. When you have planned to install VMware Workstation on your machines, the initial things that you need to know is a clear understanding of your system. And if you can just right click on your PC, that is my PC, and then go to properties, you get the details of the processor and the RAM. So in this case, I have an i5 processor and 8 GB of RAM. While you purchase your laptop or a PC, it is better you check whether it is ready for virtualization or not, because few processors do not support. A majority of the processors in the market support, but few processors are not supporting virtualization, but latest ones are all supporting. So please check with the vendor if the laptop or PC that you want to newly buy is supporting VMware or any other virtualization platform you wish to work on. So in this screen, we clearly understood that the processor is i5 and it has an 8 GB of RAM. Suggested is 16 GB and above, but we can make things work with 8 GB as well, because all my experiments work on this machine comfortably. There's no problem at all. So let us understand few more resources that I have on the machine. The hard disk on this machine is an SSD hard disk, which is 128 GB, and it has approximately 8 GB of free space. So that will be very less in case I wish to work with many virtual machines. And I have another USB external hard disk drive, which is which has good space on it. It is approximately 8 TB, and I have comfortable space, free space of approximately 5 TB. So this is what I use. I don't use my C drive, rather I use Seagate expansion drive, which is identified as D in this. These things are very important. The resources that are available in terms of whether your CPU, consider it your CPU, memory, disk, and your network. So in this picture, you can clearly see that the CPU is running at 2%. Memory, Windows has already consumed about 5 GB, and the rest of the memory is still there. And disk, there are no operations as such. Network also, there is very minimal traffic on that. And regarding RAM, see, that's what I was discussing. The Windows operating system has taken majority of it. Considering the disk, the IOPS and other factors, it is still on the lower side. And network is also on the lower side. So when we wanted to understand, when we want to understand about thin provisioning, let me take you through the installation of a virtual machine once again, where you will be specifying the hardware required for a VM. In this case, I am trying to make use of a CentOS VM. I want to create a CentOS VM and let you know where this thin provisioning comes in place. So as usual, we go through the first screen, which is a welcome screen, and we choose custom. Then these are by defaults. The compatible products that are already available are Fusion and Workstation 12.0. And make a note of the limitations of Workstation 12 that I have. Your VMware Workstation version may be different, and its compatibility and limitations may be quite different to what you see on my machine. So 64 GB of memory, that is the higher side, and 16 processors can become part of this virtual machine. 10 network adapters can be configured, and 8 TB of disk size can also be configured. Of course, I would want to hit all the higher side threshold values. Let us see how it goes. So in case in case your ISO file from which you are trying to install the operating system has some issues, so this is kind of the warning message that you get. So just check the ISO image, and this is not a huge issue, but I had an opportunity to capture this, so don't be worried about this message. You just scrap the older ISO, download the newer ISO, and your issue is resolved. Now, to continue the process, I am selecting the Linux, and version that I selected is CentOS 64-bit. So I renamed I named the virtual machine as CentOS Resource Utilization, which is RES and util, and I have selected the D drive, not the C drive. C drive has very less space. And I have selected, let me select for the time being, I have an i5 processor, but still I would want to select 16 processors for this virtual machine. But ultimately, to my best knowledge, it will come down to 8 processors is the capacity that this machine can hold. VMware will definitely come out and say at some point in time that this machine, virtual machine, can only be configured with 8 processors, not 16 processors, because of the hardware capacity of this machine. Okay, so I move to next, and this is one area where your thin provisioning comes into picture. Even though I select the highest threshold value, which is 64 GB, let us understand what a thin provisioning is. If I am trying to configure this virtual machine to 65 to hold 65 GB of RAM as one of its hardware specification, even though I install the machine and I start working on it, whatever it is consumed by that, if it is consuming only 512 KB or 1 MB or 1 GB, whatever it is, only that portion of your real memory that is there as a hardware on your physical machine is utilized, not 64 GB. So even though I configure 64 GB, it does not utilize that. It will only utilize what is needed by that virtual machine. That is what the real sense of thin provisioning is. So I've just configured to the max, even though I have a 8 GB of RAM on my physical machine. But ultimately it will throw an error. VMware Workstation will throw an error, allowing me to adjust this high threshold value to 10 and 11 GB of RAM, in between 10 GB and 11 GB. Let us move to the next step. So bridge networking is always the option if you want the VM to participate in the network. This is already covered in my earlier video. And yeah, let us leave these a few of these parameters to defaults. Let us not go and dig deeper into these configurations. So disk type, let us go with the default, which is recommended SCSI. And here comes another area where thin provisioning becomes an important aspect. Here we are trying to create a new virtual disk. Even though I have 8 TB of hard disk, or whatever hard disk I have as an attachment or on the machine, I would want to create a new virtual disk here. Let us move to the next. So I have selected 800 GB because somehow I feel that okay, this server may consume anywhere between 600 to 700, or even to top of 800 GB. So I've selected 800 GB. So thin provisioning means not all 800 GB is selected at one go. As long as your base CentOS operating system is If it is occupying, if the installation is occupying only 2 GB, it consumes only 2 GB. It never allocates 800 GB. But there's a caution for all of you. Don't allocate all disk space now, because allocate all disk space will physically make sure that the hard disk is allocated. Whether you use it or not, it does not really bother. So thin provisioning starts at this stage on the hard disk level also. So we have seen thin provisioning help us in both areas, RAM and hard disk. So these are the two important aspects. And yeah, this is where the disk file is getting stored. And then we have customized. So in customized hardware, I do not need all the hardware equipments. For example, I don't need USB controller, sound card, printer, which I will remove. So this is the final hardware configuration after removing all those unwanted hardware. And the moment customization of hardware is finished, then I hit on finish to start installation. And yeah, as I conveyed to you earlier, VMware has restricted me to go with a maximum of 8 processors, and it has also suggested me to go with 10.8 GB. To be more precise, it is 11,068 MB. That is the maximum it has suggested. So I had to go with this option. And now we are all set and ready to power on the machine. We just hit the power on button, and here is the initial screen, the boot screen. As my CentOS Stream 10 ISO got corrupted, I quickly switched on to the available CentOS Stream 9, and the booting starts. The installation boot starts. And here is the resource information the moment I start installing the VM. So you can see that the CPU has slightly increased. It has gone to 20%, and memory also has gone to 20%, as well as disk 1, because disk 1 is where I am trying to install the VM. And yeah, the continuation of how I am trying to keep a watch on the resources, CPU, memory, disk, and network. Network is never an issue. CPU also is never an issue. So the only bottleneck is memory and hard disk on my machine. And the moment installation gets completed, you are suggested to reboot. And then you reboot. On reboot, you can clearly see that the disk portion, there is a fall of IOPS on disk 1D, and then once again when the machine boots, it goes and hits almost to 100%. So CPU and network are still not an issue. Memory and disk. Here you see both the disks are going hand in hand almost. So yeah, those have to be observed while you create multiple virtual machines. When the VM is in off state, this is what the readings are. So CPU has come down, memory has come down, disk operations have come down, and yeah, network remains as is. So machine is up and running without any issues after I configure this, and yeah, from here we can see the resource utilization when the VM achieves a stable state. And after I switched on, switched on the first virtual machine, I switched on the rest of the virtual machines also. So now there are 4 VMs which are successfully running. Of course, I have tweaked with the settings, hardware settings, especially the RAM, for the rest util CentOS VM. So which made me spin off all the 4 VMs. In few scenarios, there may be a situation that multi-tier kind of environments, That means one VM can be used as a web server, another as a database server, another as a file server, and the fourth one as an FTP or whatever. There are so many servers that can be configured on CentOS. So assuming that I need 4 machines on my physical laptop, so I am able to comfortably run all the 4 machines. And you can clearly see after I switched on all the 4 machines, the CPU is still at 6% and memory. This is the reading after I switched on all the 4 machines, and they are at a stable state, not at the initial boot. Initial boot may be really very high. The readings on the initial boot are really very high. And yeah, in case of a duplicate IP address, as I have configured with the same IP address, you could see something similar to this. So avoid duplicate IP addresses. This is an IPv6 address. I will be configuring this IP address a little later. And that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you understand the importance of thin provisioning. For any questions, you can ping me on WhatsApp on this number given or drop me an email. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.